It was a rather scary start to the workday as a mass shooter with possible accomplices opens fire inside of the Washington Navy Yard. Good evening. This is CTV News. I'm Patricia Vallone. Thank you for joining us. Well, as of news time, D.C. Police Chief Kathy Lanier confirms that at least 13 people are dead, in addition to the shooter. Now, several other people were reportedly wounded. Authorities say at least one gunman opened fire early this morning inside a building in the Washington Navy Yard. CTV's Makia Turner is joining us now in the studio with the details of today.
That's right, Patty, and actually that number 13 fatalities just went up a couple moments ago. So again, this is still a very vastly developing story that we're talking about here. The mass shooting happened about 8:20 this morning inside of the headquarters of the Naval Sea Systems Command on Isaac Hall Avenue. Now, witnesses say a gunman was shooting from a fourth-floor overlook, aiming at people in the cafeteria. Shaken up and, quote, terrified, Patricia Ward, a logistics management specialist, was getting breakfast at the time. Ward says she heard the shots and ran for cover on the side of a building.
It was 3 gunshots straight in the road, pop, pop, pop. 3 seconds later, it was pop, 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 pop. So it was like about a total of 7 gunshots. And we just started running.
And what did the security guard say?
She told all of us to just run, just get away as far as you can. You know, she had her gun drawn, you know. She was protecting us to just leave. I'm scared, I'm nervous. I don't feel secure coming into government buildings anymore. And I've worked for the government for almost 37 years.
The big concern for us right now is that we potentially have 2 other shooters that we have not located at this point. So right now, all we have on those potential other shooters, and this is not confirmed, we potentially may have 2 additional shooters out there. One being a white male who was last seen around 8:35, 8:40 this morning in a khaki tan military uniform, short sleeve with a beret hat, appeared to be like a naval uniform. That white male was last seen around 8:35 this morning with a handgun. We also have a lookout potentially for another shooter involved. That was a black male, approximately 50 years of age, who may have been in possession of a long gun. That person was wearing an olive drab colored, possible military-style uniform.
Now, according to a spokesperson for Washington Hospital Center, 3 people, including that one wounded D.C. police officer, are in critical condition, but all are expected to survive. Now, again, those 3 involve 2 additional female civilians. One was shot in the shoulder. Another female was shot in her head and in her hand. Family members of the Navy Yard workers have been asked to reunite at the National Stadium parking lot B. If you're looking for information on a loved one who works at the Navy Yard, officials ask you to call 202-433-6151 or 202-433-9713. And just a heads up, County Police have added patrols at all metro stations in the area, so don't be alarmed this evening when you see them. Also, some additional information on the shooter. We found out that 34-year-old Aaron Alexis of Fort Worth, Texas, he was a civilian contractor, and he used the ID of another worker this morning before he opened fire. Right now, police still don't know of a motive in this case, but again, as more details happen, we will bring you the latest.
Now, at this point, we had heard initially there were 4 people injured and 12 people, and now this number has changed. Do we know if any of the wounded were the recent deaths?
Yeah, this story is still developing, again, at a very rapid pace, so we're not sure if that 4 wounded became just 3 wounded in addition to another fatality, but I guess we'll find out, you know, in some time.
And the suspects, the other 2 alleged suspects at this point?
Right, so apparently there were 3 shooters. 2 are being classified as potential shooters, which is what Kathy Lanier, she just gave descriptions of both males. And again, that the primary gunman is dead.
All right. Well, thank you, Makia. And as you said, the story is very fluid. I'm sure we'll be following it tomorrow on our newscast here. Well, meantime, though, there are people who worked in those nearby buildings who were also on lockdown for much of the morning. Many could only glean information on the unfolding events from social media or television news.
As I got off the subway, I noticed people were talking and more people were going down instead of coming up to go out. And so when I got up to the top, all I could see was police cars and people and everything. And I said, oh my God, something's happened in the building. And then somebody said there's a shooter out there and several people have gotten shot. And DOT is on lockdown. So I got on my cell phone, I called my front office, and they said if you're locked down outside, go home.
At first, around like 10 a.m., the building was locked down. We couldn't get out of our floor. We can't come outside. But now they slowly, letting us out.
I was terrified, actually, because we do work often over by the Navy Yard, and to know that this is happening right in front of us right now and could very well have been us for any other circumstance. So it's difficult to be in the moment where it could have been you.
And many of those who were en route to work received email alerts telling them to turn back and go home if they had not already arrived. Well, several Prince George's County fire crews rushed to the scene of the shooting this morning. They were sent to assist Washington, D.C. and other emergency responders on site. In addition, a team of firefighters will also be filling in at one of the dispatch centers to answer fire-related calls. Spokesman Mark Brady says they will remain in place as long as needed.
Whenever they have an incident like this in the nation's capital, we know that Prince George's County is going to be one of the first departments that they call on for backup resources. So we're prepared for this. We know it's going to happen. At times we have to use their resources when something happens here in the county. So it's definitely a mutual aid to each department.
And Mark Brady also says Prince George's County is lending some of its fire equipment to help. Well, President Barack Obama briefly spoke about the tragedy during an unrelated press conference earlier today. The president says his thoughts and prayers go out to those at the Navy Yard who are touched by the mass shooting. He also promises to do everything in his power to make sure whoever carried out this, quote, cowardly act is held responsible.
So we are confronting yet another mass shooting. And today it happened on a military installation in our nation's capital. It's a shooting that targeted our military and civilian personnel. These are men and women who were going to work, doing their job, protecting all of us. They're patriots, and they know the dangers of serving abroad, but today they face the unimaginable violence that they wouldn't have expected here at home.
President Obama expressed his gratitude to the Navy, federal and local law enforcement and medical personnel who responded to the incident. He also called on federal and local authorities to work together to ensure a seamless and thorough investigation.